You're still an ambassador now, and the 2026 World Cup is coming to Canada, right? That's going to be a big deal.
Huge.
How do you feel about it?
You know, being in that energy and seeing it and seeing how huge it is.
Right.
You know, you really appreciate, like, this is the world's game. To be a part of that and knowing that that's coming to my city, that I grew up and lived and was born and played, and as a young kid playing street soccer, I would have never thought in a million years a World Cup would come to Canada.
Right.
Never thought of it. And not only we made the World Cup, and now the World Cup is coming to Canada. There's no looking back now. Football is going to be Canada's sport.
Hey, boys in the barrel, boys, always in the motherfucking barrel. Like, no, we keep it thorough. No, see me on the streets, don't be asking for referrals. Hey, there's no running back. We on the road, that's a fact. Came so far, there's no going back. See me in the club, keep it safe, we got my red.
All right, Dero, yo, thank you for coming through the crib, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Always a pleasure to connect with you, man. And having a soccer legend, a Canadian soccer legend, Canadian athlete legend in the crib is an honor, man. So thank you.
Thank you, man.
Bro, look, I want to go, before we even start, I just want to go through some of these accolades. So 4 times MLS champion, inducted into the Canada Soccer Hall of Fame and the Canada Sport Hall of Fame, TFC all-time career leader in goals, 2011 MLS MVP and Golden Boot. You received the Order of Ontario. You're the TFC ambassador. You started the Dero TFC Academy and the Dero Foundation. Plus many more things, bro. You're an author now. You're a motivational speaker. How do you feel in terms of your career? Do you feel fulfilled?
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for what I was able to accomplish. But more so, I'm never fulfilled, man. I'm always feel like there's more to do and there's more to accomplish, and that's just how I've always been. You know, I've always tried to, you know, create, you know, any passion I have and love that I have. I just try to manifest that and see how far I could take it.
Yeah. You played professionally 22 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a long time to play a sport, man.
Yeah.
Very long time.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you had the best career that you possibly could have had?
I think so. I think that I made the most of the opportunities that came my way. I don't think I would change it any other way. You know, at the end of the day, all you can do is make the most of what you got in front of you, and that's what I tried to do. And I think I did that.
Yeah, of course. I like sitting down and talking with you. I've actually had the chance to interview you for Scarborough Made. That's another great project. If for anyone who's watching, you can go to the Toronto Public Library, and your image is still up there in Scarborough at the Cedar Brae Library. But during that interview, I learned a lot about you, and I learned, obviously, you're a proud Scarborough native. You love where you come from, but you love to give back to the community too. And through your foundation, the Dero Foundation, you actually helped a lot of kids who may not have had an opportunity to play sports or to have an extracurricular activity do something that's a little bit more fulfilling with their time, right? Why was that important to you?
Well, on many levels, you know, just the opportunity to be in a position to give back. There's a saying where much is given, much is required. So I knew that, you know, as some of those accolades you mentioned, I know with those came great responsibility, came great leadership. And for me, growing up in Scarborough, there wasn't a professional athlete that I'm aware of that, you know, started his own foundation, that started his own academy, that came back in right to the you know, the community and provided opportunities for kids. I never grew up with that experience.
Right.
So I knew there was still many kids like me that grew up in metro housing, single family household, that still need this platform, still need an opportunities presented to them, and you know, I thought that who better do it than myself? It's easy to cast blame, it's easy to point the finger. It's another thing when you step up and take the initiative. And I knew doing that would require even bigger responsibility on my part. And but I was willing to take on that challenge, and I'm very happy that I was able to manifest that through the strength and the help of course, my brother, my father, God rest his soul, but other people in my community that helped me while I was still playing at that time, because my foundation started in 2012. I was still playing, and my academy started 2015.
Right.
Which my foundation actually led into my academy, because we were just doing camps and stuff for kids in the community. Now the goal is to expand, you know, and impact even more youth lives and more at-risk communities, and you know, I really think there's a great pathway through sport, and not only using sport as a vehicle to get them out of the situation, yes, but also use sport as to teach them financial literacy, to teach them health and nutrition, and to help battle a lot of anxiety, a lot of emotional trauma that our youth face and our families face. And sport's a great way to release some of that stress and some of those feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I played sports growing up, and it keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah.
Just on a
That too.
on a basis of where your time is spent.
Yes.
Playing in a league or playing after school definitely fills up your time. Doing something positive, it keeps you active, right? Mm-hmm. But I wanted to talk to you about the way that you came up, and you growing up in Scarborough as well. We're both Scarborough natives. We're both really proud of where we come from, and I think when people think of Scarborough, they think of like a myriad of different things. Some people think like, oh, it's the hood. Some people think it's just suburbs. What was the reality growing up like for you in Scarborough?
Yeah, it's all relative. Who feels it knows it, right? For me, Scarborough was a beautiful place, a beautiful childhood, but it had its tough moments, especially growing up in metro housing. I was very fortunate and blessed to grow up in these environments, because I really got to see, you know, what struggle and hardship and blue collar is really about, and hard work, right? Watching my father, you know, get up early and hustle and bustle and to make little ends, you know, and thankfully I was raised by my aunt, you know, who brought my father over, who brought my mom over from Guyana, and you know, just watching them go through so much challenges. And it wasn't only us, it was all the kids in our communities are going through the same, you know, struggles and environments. You know, you kind of land there and try to figure, okay, what do we do now, right? Where can I get a job? Where can I, you know, advance my life, my career? So, you know, just being a very young child and seeing that, it registered, it resonated with me, and I didn't want that for my future. So I saw an opportunity through sport to get a way out. I mean, when I went to elementary school, Kenny and Eglinton, you know, I did every sport that they had, but they didn't have soccer.
Right, but you still hoop too, right?
I love b-ball, basketball.
Yeah.
I'm a product of after-school programming. That's why I kind of built my foundation, focused on after-school programming,
right?
Rec programs, you know, anything the community programming. So I was a product of that. You know, but I grew up like most kids in these communities, where you turn to community gangs, you turn to hustling to make ends meet, because there's only so much you can ask for your parents for. There's only so much they can give you, and obviously that's easy money, so that looks good. But then I saw, you know, the road that leads to, it doesn't end good, you know. And in our culture, West Indian culture, we always glorify the Al Pacino movies,
right? The gangster
Capone movies. But always in the end, what happens with the gangster?
Die or go to jail,
they're
or
dead,
you know,
right? Or most of the times they're dead.
Most
right?
of the times they die,
and the families suffer. So that resonated with me as well. When I watched that movie, the hype is hype, but then at the end, you're like, damn, but he didn't really get to really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Nor his family, because now they're suffering, or they lost everything, and you know. Everything that I did, I wanted to be the best. So if I was doing that, I was willing to take it all the way. And I just looked at the end of that story and said, but I don't want my ending to be that. So I saw sports and how that could end up, and I said, you know what? I'd rather stick to the sports and go that route. And thankfully, my older brothers, they really pushed me in that environment. And you know, there's times when, you know, we got things to deal with, and they're like, no, you're not coming. You got to stay, you got training tomorrow, you got game, focus on your football. So, you know, it also, and me listening, you know, and having that mentorship around me, that, yes, they could say, yo, come man, and be one of the dudes, which I did hard-headedly, but after a while, you start to listen, you start to understand, say, yeah, you know what, maybe I should just focus on this.
Yeah. We talked about this last time as well, but it sounds like when you were coming up, you were in the streets.
Yeah,
you were in the streets.
I was 100% in the streets.
What was the turning point for you when you were in the streets? Because I think everybody, like you said, you either get locked up, you go to jail, something bad happens. Yeah. What was the turning point for you where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm changing my life?
Well, a few times, lots of turning points. I remember we would meet up and fight different communities and gangs and stuff like that. And, guys, Kennedy Station, guy come in nice shoes, you rolling for your shoes. I used to do all that stuff, but in my heart, I felt away. Right. Because I had upbringing. My aunt would always be like, her messages would always be like, she always knows, sense when something's going on. Right. And, there's a few times I escaped police. I got charged for assault, an officer, which I'm not proud of, because we were in a fight and he grabbed me, I turned around and swung and hit him. And it was just, my dad to really bring me down, and, because that's the kind of life he lived growing up in Guyana. And he's, lived in Jamaica, lived in Trinidad, lived in various places to try to control his anger management. So it was really sport, as you mentioned. I found a peace. I found like I really belonged. Unfortunately at school I didn't really felt like I belonged because I didn't allow myself that learning. Right. I found school very boring. I found it very repetitive. And then of course in grade 6 they put me in special education class, and that got me even more angry and more rebellious. So but sport was always the dividing factor that always I felt, like myself. I felt like I was unapologetically me, and I could carry that swag, I carry that anger, carry that vibe, and I brought that with me throughout my career. But like there's a lot of things that when I look back on helped mold and shape that. Got shot point blank one, almost lost my eye. So that probably at that point was like, no, I'm gonna do the sports thing.
Wow, man. How old were you when that happened, when you got shot?
I was like 15, 16 years old. Yeah. And thankfully back then they didn't have like bullets. Like we didn't really have bullets, so it was a handmade bullet. So this guy had a nail compression gun and shot me like closer from where you are to me. So, I tore up my retina and I had to do all that. I had a tournament that weekend. I didn't want to tell my dad, so I had internal bleeding. I had pressure in my behind my eyes, so my head felt like it was going to explode. And my pride didn't want to say nothing until, half in the first game, I told coach I can't play. And my dad put aside, so you're going to tell me what's going on? I know something's wrong. Right. And I go, I can't see. My eyes, my swollen. I told him something happened. You know what I mean? And it's just... I just had some tough talking to, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me give this 100. And that's when I just say, you know what? I left everything. I did complete 360. I went straight after my spirituality first, and then my football second.
Bro, it's amazing to hear what you were, where your life could have gone. And then fast forward, man, you end up getting the Order of Ontario from hitting a cop and getting shot to like now you're being awarded by the country, man.
It's crazy.
That's incredible. That's an amazing turnaround. Yeah. And I love that you're paying it forward. You're trying to get other youth that potentially could be going down a similar path, and you're trying to show them the right way. That's huge, man. Yeah. Now, like even hearing that story, I understand why it's important to you to give back to the youth, right?
Yeah.
Because you see yourself in them too, and they're in the same communities that we grew up in.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And facing the same experiences or similar experiences, even worse now because the weaponry is coming with real bullets nowadays. And we see this on the news so much now, and it's it's all about educating. It's all about awareness. It's all about showing our youth that there's alternatives that you can go after. You don't have to do that. That's a choice. You can choose to be great, or you can choose to take this road. So really knowing that they have choices and they can say no and be comfortable with themselves in doing that.
Yeah. Something else that I read correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard around this period in your life, you're 14 years old, you got offered to go play in Milan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I heard you turned it down.
Yeah.
At the time. You weren't ready to play.
No, I wasn't ready for the discipline. I wasn't ready for, wake up this time, train at this time. I'm a street kid, man. I'm like, when the lights come on, you come home. I was very connected with my brother. There's 5 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment. So that's all you know, right? Now I'm like in a room by myself. It's the beautiful hotel, like it's Milan, like it's the creme de la creme, and I'm just like completely taken back, right? I'm super overwhelmed. I went there by myself, right? So there's no chat. You pick up your phone, you could call your parents, or you could see your brothers. There's none of that. There, it's just you're there and they're here, right? And I would go outside late at night because of time difference as well. They're time ahead, so I go out late at night and I call them and like, hey, what's going on? We're going to party and da da da. And I'm just like, man, what are you doing? Like, well, what do you mean, what am I doing? I have to go to bed. Like, I have to go to sleep. I'm training in the morning. So, they offered me a 5-year contract. I went to Regina at first, and Regina's a small, Regina, however you say it. It's a small community in Italy, right? So I initially went there first. And because I did well there, I was there for about 3.5 weeks, a month. And it was just me alone in like a 4-story building because there was 4 other Nigerians that played on the team, but they were away during the Olympics at that time. And so it was just me. So that was traumatic. A small village. I'm staying, like when I go downstairs, the kitchen is there. Down the hall is the communal bathroom for all of us. It's just soccer fields. It's gated. It's like nothing to do. So I would wait I can't wait in the morning until training comes so I can see people again, right? And then once the nighttime comes, it's like you're back to yourself, which was a blessing and a curse because it really got me to know myself. Because
you were forced to spend time by yourself, right?
By myself, and it was silence. There was no TV. There was no TV. There was nothing. So it was just you and your mind. So I would sit-ups and push-ups to make myself sleep. Cause I couldn't sleep because, mind you, it's like 7 hours or 6 hours ahead there. So it's 12 o'clock there, 6 in the evening. Ain't nobody sleeping when you're 15, 16. You're running the street, doing whatever you're doing. So by the time I went to Milan 4 weeks later, I was already mentally like, man. And now I go from that to Milan. It's like bustling city, but it was more business. Where it says like, someone's picking you up this time, you got training, we got this, that. So just all that, and then they flew my dad down to try to convince me to stay, but at that time my mind was already checked out. And they had the contract, and my dad's like, listen, at the end of the day, maybe if he was a little bit more educated, because my dad left Guyana to go to Jamaica because he was a rude boy. You know what I mean? So he went to Jamaica to them straighten out. That didn't work. So he went back to Guyana. And then he went to Trinidad to help straighten them out, and that didn't work. So then I said, listen, let's go to Canada, and let's just start fresh.
Okay.
So I guess he saw myself in him in the sense of that experience, and he's like, all right, if you don't want to be here, then we'll go back home. Instead of saying, no, you gotta stay. Right? And
he almost was trying to do right by you, right? He was trying to trying to make sure you're comfortable.
So I came back here, and very quickly I realized it wasn't the right choice. It wasn't the right choice.
It's amazing, man, because a lot of people, when they get offered those opportunities, that opportunity might not ever come back. Never. Like you might have blown it, you might have missed it. Well, but 4 years later, you made it pro again. Like it was the right time. That's the way I look at sometimes things too, where it's like that just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right situation, because then you got it back. Then you played for the Toronto Lynx, right, at 18.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it wasn't the right time, but I didn't choose it then. I could have made it the right time, but I didn't choose it then. But I'm grateful that another opportunity came around. Yeah, and a lot of wake up calls came around. That I said, you know what, the next opportunity I'm gonna go for. And we were playing at the Youth World Cup in Malaysia, and the team from Germany saw me and wanted to sign me. And I wasn't thinking twice. I was like, okay, let me go.
Oh, at that point you were ready.
I wasn't ready. I was just like, I'm not going to let another opportunity pass me by.
Right.
So I was at that mind state where I'm just like, I'm signing, you know. And maybe I should have flipped it around. Maybe I should have thought a little bit more about the Germany thing and signed the Milan thing. But in hindsight, you know, everything, looking back, everything was a blessing because it helped shape and mold the person I am today.
That's amazing, man. That being said, you're talking about Germany, Milan. You've played in a lot of different places, man. Even in the States, you played DC, you played Houston, you played a lot of different cities. What would you say is your biggest takeaway, maybe not even from soccer, but just from getting to see the world? A lot of people, especially at a young age, don't get to travel that much. You got to see the world, you got to play in different cities, play against different teams in different cities. What did that international like sensibility do to you, like being around traveling so much?
Well, I mean, yeah, I traveled all of Europe pretty much by myself.
Yeah.
Chasing dream, Marseille, Barcelona, MTK, Budapest, Portsmouth, but it really taught me that the world is really small. The world is big, but it's small, and there's beauty everywhere. What I realized is what we're doing here, they're doing in every other country in the world. Just maybe a little bit different, but it's still the same. People like reggae hip hop here, they like reggae hip hop here. There's breakdancing there, there's breakdancing here. There's cool people there, there's cool, it's like everybody got their own little spin on it, right? But the world is really small, man, and it's the best teacher. It's the best teacher. Traveling is the best teacher because I think you appreciate culture more, you appreciate life more, but not only that, you appreciate what you bring to the world, and your culture and what you bring to the world, and people find that fascinating, just like how I find their culture and traveling fascinated. You become very astute and in tuned to your environments and your surroundings. When you're traveling on your own, you gotta be very mindful. You gotta pay attention more. You gotta be mindful of where you're going. There's trouble there, there's trouble here. If you look for trouble, you'll find it, just like every other place in the world.
Right.
You just gotta know to trust your instinct and stay in your lane, and that's what I think really resonated with me. It was really just trusting my instinct. And if I walk from here to anywhere on this planet, I know how to get back. Because I got that mental roadmap that I just have certain things that I just register with me, whether it's a different color leaf on a tree, a sign that's a little twisted, a thing that's how I navigate to get back to where I'm going. Because in these places, I would just walk. I would just go for walks and walk and walk and walk and turn around and say, okay, I got to find my way back.
That's amazing, man. I think you're right too. I think traveling opens up people's minds. You learn a lot from experiencing different cultures, different food.
Yeah.
It's an amazing teacher, like you said. So that's great that you still got to experience that at a young age, and I'm sure you travel all the time still now too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, traveling is part of. I love traveling.
Yeah.
I love traveling, and there's so much more to the world that I want to see and explore and experience. So,
is there a place that you haven't been to yet that's on your list that you want to hit up?
I've never been to Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, New Zealand and those places.
Yeah.
I've never been there. I've been to every other continent, but I haven't been there. Okay. And of course, Brazil. I've been to South America, but I haven't been to the Mecca of football.
Wow. You got to do that, bro.
In my humble opinion, the Mecca of football is Brazil, because I fell in love with football by watching Brazil.
Same. That's bro. You got to. I thought for sure you had been to Brazil.
I know, crazy. And my heritage is Guyana. It's right there. I've been to Guyana many times, but I haven't been to Brazil.
And I know you're into the music and the dance. You got to go there in Carnival or something.
Yeah, I got to go there, man. Brazil's beautiful, rich culture. The way they embrace the Afrocentric and energy and the vibration and just that whole culture there. I just want to. Be in it.
Yeah, we got to get you over there, bro. We're gonna make it happen.
You got to get me over there.
We're gonna make it happen, bro. We'll make it happen. We've been talking about a lot of the good stuff. I want to talk about how you overcame some of the struggles, especially as an athlete. Not every athlete, but the majority of athletes deal with injuries. You tore your ACL. You had an injury in your calf, right? And especially as a young kid, who's playing the game and this is all they know too professionally, that's a scary thing to go through. How do you navigate through something like that?
Yeah, well, the first thing is understanding injuries is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just when, right? And you can't really control that. You can't control a strained calf, a strained hamstring. If a guy tackles you, but you can prepare for it. And there's been, certain measures put in place now that, injury prevention, whether that's stretching properly after trainings and games, yoga and Pilates and all these things. I know us as males might look at that and feel a little way, but these things are vital to preventing injuries.
Right.
A lot of band work, doing a lot of band work, core and back strength work. So there's more and more information today than there was when I was playing, where it's like, grin and bear kind of thing. Come on, get your head up. You had a concussion, you're seeing stars. Shake your head off. You're a concussion, go shake it off, and you just keep playing.
Yeah.
And not necessarily for the better, right? But I think when more and more information come into light, and international athletes like LeBron talks about how much he invests in his health,
right.
How much he invests in taking care of his body. Mayweather expresses that too. Many top athletes are expressing because of social media, and there's so much information out there that you can if you want to be an elite athlete, then you got to do elite stuff. If you want to be great, you got to do great sacrifices, and taking care of your body. This is your investment. When you're an athlete, your body is your investment. But going back to what you're saying, how you deal with injuries, you just gotta accept it, accept and embrace it. I've had some pretty bad injuries, and I looked at this and I said thank you. You say, why would you say thank you? I go, because it happened for a reason, and I truly believe you can't just say everything happens for a reason when it's good, and not accept everything happens for a reason when it's bad.
Okay, there you go.
Everything happens for a reason. Period. Whether good, bad, small, and different, you stab your toe, you do this. I truly believe everything happens for a reason. And I looked at my injury and said, thank you. Whatever this test is, I'm ready to deal with it. And it helped me with my healing, because you can heal yourself too by your thoughts. So I try to do a lot of self-healing and stuff like that when I get injured, and take time to get to know yourself too and your body, and realize, I haven't really be taking care of this the way I should. Right. I should be really focusing on staying behind after, maybe do a cold tub, maybe get that massage, maybe do that extra work, and it's still when you get injured, you realize, that you gotta really invest in yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Even still, man, I follow you on Instagram, and a lot of the stuff that you post is even just motivational content for people to remember to work out. I saw your video the other day, and you're up early in the morning running, and I'm like, but it makes you think I need to take this seriously too, because like you said, in my body, you only get one body. Yeah. And it's your investment for life, so it's how you treat it, right?
Yeah, we want to look good outwards, but don't think about the inside and the mental side. And it's not, and the reason why I show that is I'm never in a gym or something, and I'm just trying to show people that you don't need anything fancy. Right. Just sometimes go for a walk. Just go close to nature, because nature is the best thing that we thankfully still have, that we have to be connected with, because whether we like it or not, we all depend on nature. Yeah. Whether you're a herbivore or a carnivore, you depend on nature, because the meat you eat eats nature. Yeah. Right? Plants, trees, vegetables, stuff like that, right? So you have to be in tune with nature, oxygen, and I just think it keeps you humble and grounded. Yeah. And it's free.
Yeah. And it's free. And it's free. Health is so important, man. And I think back, I used to watch your stuff too. I used to love soccer. I was a really good soccer player when I was young. I used to play in the Scarborough Blizzards. I think you played on the Scarborough Blizzards too. Yeah,
that's where I started.
Same.
Scarborough Blizzards.
That's where I started. And when I was young, maybe around 12, maybe a little bit younger, I started to have knee problems. So my parents took me to the doctors, and I got diagnosed with this thing called Osgood.
Yeah, right under the knee.
Yeah, right under the knee, right? Yeah. So the doctor was like, this goes away as you mature. It's like
you grow.
As you grow. But you have to give your knees time to rest if you're feeling pain. And at that time, I had games, I had practices. and I was devoted. And my dad was also like a soccer dad. He's like, you're not missing practices. So I would just go. But then my knees kept getting worse and worse. Even now, bro, like look at this bone.
Yeah, I can see it sticking out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all from that, because I
Wear
never
and tear.
wear and tear, and they say that this could happen if you don't take care of it. So by the time I was like 15, 16, I had to stop playing. But it also in my mind forced me to think about, if I would have taken soccer as the only thing I did, and this would happen to me later in life, I might have been out in the streets not knowing what to do. So it like you said, everything happens for a reason. I love the sport, but unfortunately I couldn't follow through. But what do you say now? Because you work with a lot of youth too.
Yeah.
And there's youth that maybe only want to devote themselves to sports, but they need to have a fallback plan or something. What do you say? How do you encourage you to think about that?
Well, I think there's, with no disrespect, I think there's more parents like the one you were mentioning that really push their kids and don't say, listen, okay, maybe you may need to rest. And resting don't mean you don't got to show up. You still show up to your practice, but you just don't do the work.
Yeah.
Right? You still watch and learn, and you could still be present. But there's so many parents that want so much for their kids that the push is too much, instead of guidance. It's a push instead of a guide. And I try to be a parent of two young professionals myself. I just try to guide them, right? I push them when it comes to, okay, you gotta wake up and go do your exercises. You gotta live this if you wanna do this. You can't fake this, right? You can't fake being a good athlete, because you can't fake that you're working out and doing the extra work, because the game is the test.
Right.
When you're in the game, everything's gonna be revealed. So you can say you're doing this, I'm taking it serious because it sounds good, but when you're in the moment and in the game, everything will be revealed. So I think there's just a lot of pressure right now on a lot of kids, right, to really make it, and parents should guide their kids more instead of pushing them.
Yeah.
And ask more questions and be more involved that way in terms of like a voice of reason. If you took a shot and I think that you should have passed as a parent, I should ask you, why did you take that shot there? Did you think that was the only option? Yeah. Well, the coach told me to shoot. And you're like, okay, that makes sense, because the coach wanted me to shoot more. Okay, so I get it. Right. Instead of say, why did you take that shot? You did it, or you should have took that shot. Right. Coach told me to pass more because I'm shooting all the time, and he wants me to think about other plays, which helps expand your game, right? So asking more questions as a parent and not putting so much pressure on your kids. I mean, a lot of people do these private sessions left, right, and center. They don't get their body to rest. They're at it every day. They just focus on one sport. I think one sport is important as you get to like 15, 16, 17 years old. But under 13, I think you should be able to play multiple sports and experience multiple sports, because it all eventually will help benefit the one sport that you end up playing anyway. Yeah,
that's great advice too. I think you're right. It does come down to the parents a lot of the time, because at that young age, it's the parents helping to make a lot of the big decisions in how they play the game.
Well, they're taking you to and from practice. Or not taking you to and from practice, right?
Yeah, that's a good call, man. I wanted to ask you too, in terms of your professional career. So I can only imagine playing, 22 years of a professional game, and then when you have to make the decision, like, I'm gonna retire now. What went into that decision for you, and is it a moment of feeling accomplished, like, hey man, I did 22 years, I feel great, or was it like, I don't want to let this thing go and I have to let it go?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough decision for me to make for me. It was very tough. But I had an opportunity to take on a new role as an ambassador
of MLS, right?
TFC.
TFC, yeah.
Tim Lywicki had a conversation with me. He's like, if you want to play, I get it. If you're one of those players that just wanna continue playing, I get it. My role and responsibility as a player has changed as I got older in my career. There was a lot of focus on my age. Every time I went on the field, like, oh, De Rosario, the 37-year-old or 36-year-old. So I knew that, they're pushing it, but I still felt like I had a lot more to offer.
Right.
But I think at that time that I had to retire because it was the best opportunity that I had in front of me that would sustain me to now, right? And that was thanks to Tim Lywicki. He provided the ambassador role that said, listen, you know, you could still involved with the game, you're still involved with the team and the growth of the game, but you know, you gotta maybe start to transition into look at things a little different. And subconsciously, I was already doing that because I built my foundation in 2012, and you know, I had my academy already, you know, starting to build. So I was already transitioning into that what's next phase. I didn't want to do the commentating, didn't really want to get into the coaching because that's more time, you know, and I wanted to create an environment, you know, where I can still be there for my kids, still enjoy their childhood, watch their games, take them to practice, and be the father that my father was to me. So that ambassador role helped me do that. So I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to really retire now, but I got to take this opportunity because this opportunity is more for my family than it is for me. So unselfishly, I took the ambassador role and I decided to hang up my boots.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. When I hear athletes talk about that, and there's a lot of athletes that do make that transition and then fall into a depression.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't know how to cope with not having the identity that they felt they've created this whole time. But I like the conversation around the sport not defining the person.
Well,
right?
We all go through it though.
Yeah.
That's traumatic, right? Is when you're doing something that you love and you stop. We all deal with it different, right? And there's trauma there because I use sport as an outlet of all my anger and frustration that I had as a kid, but I didn't deal with it. Sports was a band-aid for it. So once you retire, that stuff comes right back.
Interesting.
Right? So I had a tough time, you know, with retiring, like big time. You know, you're not the star anymore. You're not the man. You're not the, you know, you don't have to get up in the morning anymore, go training. You got all this energy. What do you do with it? Right? So, you know, you have to you have to reinvent yourself. You have to find a new outlet, a new passion. And that's why when people retire, they get right into something else to keep them going, right? And at the mercy or at the price of sanity, maybe at the price of your family, you know. So we all deal with it in our own ways. We all channel those emotions in different ways. Like same way people that retire at 60 and they live a job, and you know, you see a lot of health deteriorate after they retire
very quickly.
Very, very quickly. You know, all of a sudden things pop up. You know, the same person that they say good morning to is not there no more. You know, that what they're used to. So you gotta, you know, re-identifying myself and you know, finding my new love and giving back and building my academy, finding a new project and being an ambassador. Took time for sure. But, you know, thankfully that, you know, I was able to come through that, you know, get through that experience. Yeah. But it's something that I think in sports that we need to pay closer attention to when athletes retire, you know, and therapy is important. You know, therapy is important because we use sports as therapy. Right. And especially in our culture, you know, we look at therapists and you think, okay, my head, nothing wrong with me, man. I'm not mentally, I don't know mental stuff. But we got a lot of baggage, you know.
Yeah. Have you personally tried therapy?
100%.
And you found that it's effective for you?
Yeah, because it's good to talk to someone that's unjudgmental. Yeah. Right? That you could just release. And, you know, when I first did it, I thought like all of us, you know what I mean? Like, man, shit, man, like, come on, like, what am I doing? What am I doing it? But as soon as I was finished, I was like, when can I see you? When can I see you again? You know what I mean? Right. I was crying. I was letting all this stuff out. I'm like, holy! I finished. I sat in my car and I was like, was that good? Was that okay? I said all that stuff. You know, I had to check the guy. I even had to go back upstairs and go, listen, man, like, what I told you is like, you're not like, that's between me and you, right? Right. It's like, no, you know, listen, man, that's why I'm here. Right. You know, just to listen. And I'm like, you didn't say nothing. I go, I know, that's my job. I just let you, you know, direct you. And I spoke for like a good hour and a half. I went past my thing and I was just like, holy.
So you needed that.
I needed it. And I'm glad that I did it. And I continuously do it. right? Not as frequently as I did before, but I wish I was open to that or even had that option earlier in my life.
Yeah, that's amazing, man, because even, again, hearing how you came up, for sure there was a lot of trauma there that you didn't deal with. And like you said, sports was a Band-Aid. And then retiring adds more to that. But then it sounds like in the end, you found a way to deal with it through therapy and through other things. Like you found a way to not put a Band-Aid on it, but work through
deal with it. Yeah, and deal with these things head on. And it's when you talk to someone, they're like, yeah, that's normal. I mean,
yeah,
they're like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of people going through a lot, and you realize, like, you know what I mean, like you just let go and accept and say it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter to what levels someone did, man, you can change, you can improve yourself, you can let that go, and a lot of people hold on to stuff because they don't know how to deal with it, especially athletes, right? We use sports. Like I wouldn't be able to play with that vigor, to play with that energy if I didn't go through a lot of stuff, and I push that into my sport.
Right. I wanna go back to what you were saying a little bit earlier, where you mentioned you got the role and you transitioned to an ambassador role, right? Now you're still an ambassador now, and the 2026 World Cup is coming to Canada, right? That's gonna be a big deal.
Huge.
Are you excited about that? How do you feel about it?
Crazy. Can't wait. I'm ambassador for the World Cup as well.
Yeah.
And I was in part of FIFA Legends that were in Russia.
You got to play that game, right?
I played in the Legends, and I played in Qatar. And the reason why I say that is because when you're there and you see, because that was my first actual World Cup I've been to, right? Unfortunately, Canada, we never made a World Cup before Qatar. And being in that energy and seeing it and seeing how huge it is,
right?
You really appreciate, like, this is the world's game.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a continent that is not there, and the fans are coming out in thousands and thousands and well represented, you know what I mean? So, to be a part of that and knowing that that's coming to my city that I grew up and lived and was born and played, and as a young kid playing street soccer, I would have never thought in a million years a World Cup would come to Canada.
Right.
Never thought of it. And not only we made the World Cup, and now the World Cup is coming to Canada. It's crazy, man. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like the levels that this sport is now going to go to.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about the World Cup just coming to Canada. That's one aspect that we get to see our heroes and our stars and all the legends that come to the city and stuff like that. But we're talking about grassroots. We're talking about now we have to pay more attention to fields, developing proper fields and facilities for our youth, developing facilities for teams that are coming here to train, that that's going to be here and people could use, community could use, and it's just a huge influx of the injection into the game at such a level that there's no looking back now. Football is going to be Canada's sport. It's hockey, yes, but football is coming to take over.
It's going to be there, right?
It's going to be basketball, hockey, and right with basketball and everything else. It's going to be right there.
Because you're right. I think for a lot of years, soccer was never looked at as a popular sport in Canada. Yeah. Like especially because it's a multicultural place. For sure, there's cultures that come here. I'm Latino. My family loves soccer. You're Guyanese. Your family loves soccer. But as a whole, it's always been hockey, and more recent years basketball. But I think you're right. Now soccer is going to come to the forefront. Yeah, that's amazing, man. Yeah. What is your role? What are your responsibilities now as ambassador of the World Cup?
Well, right now there's not much being done around that, but kind of similar to Toronto FC. Just help continue to grow the game, spread the message that World Cup is coming. Playing Legends games. Talk at conferences about the impact that it's going to have from a local guy and the grassroots level, and how much that's going to be so impactful to the growth and development of the game at all levels, male and female, inclusivity with communities, at-risk communities, and so it's a wide spectrum of responsibilities within that ambassador role.
Yeah, you're the right person for the job, man. I think that
Appreciate it.
You're in Canada. You're one of the faces of soccer, man. So like, I'm happy to see you doing that. I wanted to ask you again, because we're both from Scarborough. I saw you post something about the BORO FC, and I didn't know. I didn't get too much information about it. What is the BORO FC? Is that, and what's your involvement in it?
I'm not really involved in it. At the end of the day, it's an opportunity for another pathway for kids to play a little higher level soccer through the League One system, and I think the League One league and system with relegation, promotion, and stuff, that I think it's healthy for the game. So I can speak on League One and the league itself. It's healthy. CPL is healthy because it's now pro soccer within Canada, and then of course TFC is the top, right? And but it's good that we have these levels now developing and establishing, and we really need to support these soccer communities, you know, for them to grow. Like, in order to CPL to be successful, we got to go support young 17, 18 kids that maybe got overlooked that are playing in our own backyard. Like both my kids play in the CPL, right? And now one's at Seattle and one's TFC2 now. So, you know, we gotta support these leagues. Yeah,
that's how you see things grow. Like, if you look at the popularity now that's starting to hit the WNBA, that's just because people started to support women's basketball. Exactly. It took a while, but people need to come out, watch the game, support. Yeah. So I agree, man. I think hitting it on every level and on different league levels too. Because if you only watch the elite, then the smaller ones won't take off as well, right? So you got to support all across. I would be remiss if we didn't talk about music, man. I know you're a big music guy, and I was going through some old stuff, and I saw, I'm like, was D-Roll a DJ? Yeah. Were you a DJ at one point?
Yeah, well, actually part of my hustle was selling mixtapes in Warden Flea Market.
Wow, bro.
Yeah, reggae tapes,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So my dad used to collect music, and when my parents were together, that's one thing that resonated with me was music. And I knew the mood of the apartment with the selection of the song that was being played, right? Like, when the love was playing, it's like, kids go to bed. You know what I mean? Right. When it was like something dramatic or something, you know, okay, you know, something's happening, you know. So music, from very early age, I knew music was very impactful, and it spoke in many different ways. And I just loved music because I was born with it. I was, you know, like I said, my dad collect vinyls, 8-track at the time, and then you know, he had his LPs and 45s and 12 inches, and so you know, just hearing that authentic sound was beautiful on a Sunday morning, or you know, or whenever he put it on. And you know, my brothers took to the music thing, and then they got into the DJing more. We used to actually we traveled to New York because, you know, we got family in New York, and get the mixtapes, of course, and come back and put tape deck to tape deck and record like that, play. And someone comes, hey, yo, you gotta start over, press record here, press play here, and put them together, because you know you're copying the cassette tapes. And at that time was like, you know, Doo-Wop and Bounce Squad, and you know, DJ Clue and Power from the States, because you know, we used to, you know, we had some stage 88.1 Mastermind Power Move Show and stuff like that, that he used to get some of the collections there. But you know, New York had everything fresh. Yeah, they had it new. Yeah, off the press. So you know, just grew up with that music culture. And then, you know, we used to collect my first tape was actually Fat Boys, Crushing, and Run DMC. It was like my first ever cassette that I got.
Wow, man. Yeah. That's amazing. Do you still have it?
Yeah.
You still
have it? I still have it.
Whoa, that's wild, man.
I still have it somewhere in the file somewhere. But and then I started to really, as I grew, went through. My brother was a break dancer. My other brother really stuck to the DJ thing. He used to go, collect records and DJ. Me and my best friend growing up, we collected records as well. We went to do our grade 7, grade 8 elementary school dances. It was the funniest thing, man. We had about 10 records, and we would play like the beat to this song, the acapella, and like mix it up, and on the mic and everything. We were so probably shit. But we thought we were the best thing. We even like, you know, with my cassettes, I would graffiti on the cassettes to make it look good. We present it to the principal. You know, imagine like you're grade 7, you present it because we want to play the school dance because Funky Joe is not playing our music, and the red wine, we don't want to hear that no more. We want to hear like young kid stuff. We didn't get no reply, man. we got no reply, but you know,
but the confidence was there though. You were like, I'm putting this in.
Yeah. We like, you know, imagine grade 7, you go to principal with a mixtape.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so from there, I just started collecting music, and I got into the reggae, and then, you know, I started mixing reggae, and from my travels, as you mentioned, with soccer, I would always pick up records.
Right.
You know, and then that became a thing for me. So everywhere I went to the record store, because one thing about the record store, you know what's happening in the city, and you got the music.
Right.
So I would get LPs, bring them home, and then play them and mix them and sell them at Warren Flea Market. And that was one way I was making my money.
Wow, man. That's amazing. I almost feel like in an alternate life, you could have had a career in music, bro.
For sure, 100%.
Right?
Love playing music.
That's amazing. I also like, even as I look through your Instagram and stuff, I see you post a lot of pictures, and you're always hanging out with musicians or DJs. Like you're always with Scratch Bastard and DJ starting from scratch, and these guys.
Carlos.
Right? Yeah. And like I saw Raekwon sent you a pair of glasses. I'm like, this guy's just plugged into the music scene. Like, you know, a lot of like musicians and artists as well.
Yeah, that just happened naturally. You know, those connections happen naturally. You know, at shows, it's mutual respect too, right?
For sure. How did you connect with Raekwon?
Man, how did we connect, man? That's been a minute. We crossed paths many different times. How we really connected and made that connection was a friend of mine here, but we've crossed paths and we've seen each other. Like there was different events he would be at and I would be at, not music related, and we'd cross paths. He's like, yo, man, and then when we actually met was through a mutual friend, Rami, here, and he's like, yo, man, I seen you someplace. I go, yeah, met you SBs once. We met you, you know, you're at the ACC one time doing an appearance, and we were both doing an appearance. And he's like, yeah, I keep seeing you around, and, you know, kind of connected. Like, yeah, I listen to your music. I love Wu-Tang, right? That music as a, you know, young street kid, that was like match made in heaven, right? And the lyrics. You know, I'm a lyrics guy. I love my lyrics. So, you know, it was just boom connection. And then, you know, he lives in Dallas now. So when I go there and I bring a team, you know, I go check him, and, you know, just mesh just like that. And same thing with Scratch Bastard and Scratch is not like I used to really go to these guys' party, but it's just the energy. You know, it's just the energy that you know, we connected with, and you know, just like the reggae artists too. It's just, you know, football and reggae. You know, I mean, most of the hip hop guys from the States, they've played football, but they're not really versed. Whereas the Caribbean, like, they know their football, right? So that was more like, oh yes, baller. And like, yo, what's going on today? Like, why? And then just connect like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm thinking back to, like, even when you're celebratory, when you score, you have this little bounce. It's like a musical bounce that you do with your shoulders, right? Like that all comes from, it feels like musical and cultural influence from you.
It is completely. It was. It's called the shake and bake.
The shake and bake.
It was supposed to be like, you know, the pop and lock. So when I first did, I used to, like, you know, break it down like I'm popping, I'm locking, and, you know, breaking it down. But then over the course of time, it adapted. But the essence of it is from breaking.
That's amazing, man. I love to see that you even infuse music into football somehow.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. I wanna end on a couple of quick questions for you.
Okay.
Not including yourself, who would you say is the best soccer player of all time?
Oh, man. Man, it's hard. Like, growing up was the phenomenon, R9, you know, but you think of Pele, Maradona, but Messi, I think, what he's able to do in this day, in this time, consistently year after year, it's unmatched and unprecedented. And, you know, so I got to give it to Messi.
On that note, though, like, even conversations I've had with my dad and friends, and if you read soccer blogs and stuff, two that always come up is you know, Diego Maradona and Pele. Those guys always come up, almost like intertwined.
Yeah. You got just out of respect, I have to mention them because growing up, it was Pele.
Yeah,
for sure. Because of not just because the Black Panther, everything he stood for.
Right.
You know, he was football at its purest form, and then of course Maradona. You know what he can do and the magic he can create. But you know, the phenomenon was the phenomenon. You know, watching him play live at Barca was. That's when I'm just like, yo, man, this guy is at a different level. He sees and reads and speed, quick, agility, technique. He had it all.
Yeah.
You know? And then there's this little kid, Messi, that just said, yo, I'm going to take it to a new level. And he did, and I have to give respect where respect's due.
Who would you say is number 2 if you had to put a number 2 in there?
Oh, man, I would say Ronaldo.
Okay. Yeah.
To be injured and come back and to win a World Cup pretty much on your own.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that whole it's hard to say 1 and 2, man. It's relative, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you could put Pele, you could put Maradona, they all won World Cups. You know, Pele won it at 16, Phenomenon won at 16. Pele won it playing at 16, Phenomenon won it watching. Ronaldo won it. You know, even Ronaldinho, that name just came out like, you know, some special moments, some special moments in football, you know. But you know, there's so many players that when you think about, it's really every player has brought something. But I think those players just really brought, you know, they're just blessed.
Outside of soccer, who would you say is your favorite athlete?
Oh man, Ali,
yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Some of the greats, man.
Yeah. And I even put Usain Bolt.
Okay. Yeah.
Because to witness what, you know, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Record after record, you know, winning 100 meter, 200 meter, and relay 3 times in a row.
He's a
every
monster,
Olympics, you gotta give respects due, man. You like these people are this generation, right? They're doing it right now as you speak. So you know, to do what he's done in just total domination.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Usain Bolt will definitely be on my list for sure.
And I gotta ask you, for food. I know I was reading. You're vegetarian, right?
Yeah.
Or were you vegetarian and pescatarian? What do you eat now?
Yeah, I don't like the labels. I'm a mindful eater.
Okay.
Right. So I do dabble a little bit with fish, but predominantly my I don't like diet because I really don't eat nothing dead besides fish. But I guess everything that dies, because when you cut a plant, it has feelings too, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm more holistic. Vegetarian. In terms of, I love asking guests when they come, what's their favorite restaurant in Toronto? Do you have like something for the type of cuisine that you eat? I mean, there's so many. That's the beauty of Toronto. There's so many great restaurants out there.
What's your top pick when you go out to eat?
My mom's. Number 1. No one can beat my mom's cooking. For sure. Number 2, you know, like if I do want to eat fish and I want, you know, a nice Bangameri fish, I go to like Seatown. They make some good fish.
Okay.
In Scarborough.
Okay.
Or I go to Wendy's in Scarborough. You know, in terms of fancy dining, you know, there's even good West Indian food, Jamaican food is, oh man, what's the place called? Royal Caribbean. Is it on College Street? Royal Caribbean in the West End, the Jamaican spot.
Okay.
That's good too. I mean, there's a lot of good restaurants, man. It's hard to say. Like, you know, food is food for me. Especially growing up in Toronto, it's all like moody. You know, what do you feel for? I don't know. I feel for maybe I'll do Thai today, or I'll do, you know, I'll do Middle Eastern. I'll go to Scarborough and Lawrence there and have some falafel, or maybe I'll go to, you know, it's beautiful like that. That's the beauty of Toronto. Like, you know, you want Greek food, you go here. Italian food, you go here, right? So it's hard. It's hard to say, like, I don't really have one spot that I go to all the time.
Right.
You
Okay.
know?
But you have a few. You have a few that you dabble in.
I have a few that I dabble in.
I love that you're a Scarborough man and you plugged Wendy's.
Yeah.
Bro, Wendy's, super Scarborough, bro.
Yeah, when you go in there, you just feel like, you know, because you know, I know Faz is a good guy too. My dad goes there, so there's that relationship too.
Yeah.
Right. That it's family. So when I go there, I would say Rollins, but Rollins left Scarborough a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a real Scarborough guy, man.
I know you also have a few products that you're in the process of releasing and creating. You got your book, you got some headphones too, and you got some bracelets, right? Tell me about this stuff.
Yeah, well, just, you know, manifesting my passions. You know, obviously, you know, again, just not limiting myself. You know, just taking my passion and saying, you know what, I should make some headphones. So the purchase of the headphones are part of the proceeds go towards my foundation. Dero 14 headphones. It's wireless. It's noise cancellation. You know, good quality headphones. You know, it has good sound. So, you know, I like music, so it makes perfect sense. You know, I saw what Dre did with Beats, billion dollar company, but he obviously made sense. Producer, you know, rapper / producer. Why not create your own headphones? Right. So as an athlete, I'm just, again, showing the youth that don't limit yourself. You know, go after your passions. Right. I wrote my book that we spoke about. I got my jewelry right here, my ball with the natural stones. I got my Imperial D there. I like beads. I like stones. I like those things. So, you know, I said, okay, you know, if I like it that much, why not create my own pieces? Yeah, it's great too, man, because the products that you're creating lend themselves to authentically who you are. Yeah. You're not trying to do something that doesn't fit. Like we just talked about music. Yeah. You used to be a DJ. You're into music, right? So you created headphones. You obviously have spent time with headphones, and you know what you're looking for in a headphone, right? How did you go about manufacturing one? Like who did you partner with to create the headphone? Yeah, Crystal Clear Audio. So Crystal Clear Audio makes like the noise earbuds that musicians like U2 and stuff like that, they put in the ear, right? So when this opportunity came my way to partner with and actually collaborate with Crystal Clear Audio, it was like a no-brainer, right? I said, I have to jump on this right away. You know, 2026 coming up too, so you might hear some music. Hey, yeah, you might hear some music. I'm trying to put together a collaboration of artists for 2026 that touches many different communities, because the World Cup is the world's game, and we got great artists here in our backyard. So maybe I'll do like a World Cup kind of. Bro, that's amazing. Yeah. So are you almost like a mixtape, or like what are you thinking? Are you going back to your roots as a DJ, or? No, like a LP or album. Wow, that's bro. Regarding the game and with different artists from, you know, in our backyard. Maybe we may have Fito, maybe a Socrates, a Cardinal, Julie Black, you know. You know, so you got so many different artists here that are doing amazing work that different communities could, you know, share their passion around the game. When that drops, you got to let me know ASAP. Oh, for sure. Everybody's going to know about it. Everybody's going to know about it. Because, you know, like I said, we all come from footballing countries. We all migrated to Canada, whether you're first generation or whether you just landed, you know. But one thing resonates is football, man. Connects the world, man. Connects the world. Bro, I'm super excited. When you're ready to drop that album, that LP, come back here, bro, and we'll do it again here, man. Yeah. Sounds good. Man, thank you so much for coming to the crib, bro. Always a pleasure talking with you. I have to point this out too, bro. I wore this for you, bro. I see it with the pink. This is the Carabana one, right? Yep. So I'm like, if Dwayne's coming to the crib, I got to rock this one, man. That's a classic. That's a classic jersey. Bro, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Always love, bro.